Good morning and welcome to the video for Wednesday, January the 13th. This is going to be a video for 6th grade working on lesson 7.5 in Go Math. Today we are going to be finally applying what I've been promising is coming. We're actually going to take our expressions. We are going to give values to the variables that are going to make up a portion of our terms and then work through what the answer for that expression should be. So that's going to get us ready for the next step, which is actually solving and working with equations. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at our unlock the problem. I am hopefully going to have a little bit better luck with recording today, although I'm going to have to manually keep track of something. I'm keeping the same layout, but I'm doing it in a slightly different way, so I can't actually see whether things are in the frame or not. So I just kind of have to guess that once I get over to around here, things are going to start disappearing to keep track of that in my head. And hopefully that will stop the problem with my graphics driver crashing and taking out the whole computer and everything else. So let's go ahead and look at our unlock the problem. Amir is saving money to buy an MP3 player that costs $120. He starts as $25 and then each week saves 9. The expression 25 plus 9W gives the amount of dollars that Amir will have saved after a certain number of weeks. And we're going to represent that with the variable W. So we are going to assign the value of 8. So we are going to say that he is going to save for another 8 weeks. And then we are going to give the answer for how much he would have saved. So let's go ahead and start by replacing the variable W with the number 8. And then we can go ahead and work through our problem using our order of operations. So we have to do the multiplication part first. So that's what it's asking for the answer for down here. So if you are in 6th grade and you still need this as a hint, I believe I should be on camera. And this should be starting with what you will see as the leftmost finger, even though it's my right pinky. So we would use our knuckle strategy that we've worked on recently. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8th knuckle would go down. I have 7 fingers up on the left. That's the number in the tens place. 2 fingers up to the right of that knuckle. That would give us 72. So if you're still struggling with your multiplication facts for nines at this point, that's a great way that you can kind of quickly work through and find the answer. Of course, if you are having difficulty moving and holding fingers in place, you can always place them down on the surface in front of you to keep your finger in place so that you can count to the correct knuckle. There's nothing wrong with doing that. And our last step, we're going to do 25 plus 72. That is going to give us 97. And so that would be the number that he would have saved after 8 weeks. And then we want to know how many weeks will he have saved to get enough money to buy the MP3 player. So after 8 weeks, he would only have 97. So each week we're going to add 9 to this. And so what we have down here, we're going to keep doing this. So we're going to do 25 plus 9 times 9. We could basically take the answer that we previously got and add 9 to it because that's the only thing that's going to change. And so we could actually refer back to this. So we would go from 72 up to 81. Then we would go up to 10 times 9, which would be 90. And then 11 times 9, which would be 99. And then we are going to add 25 to that. So this would give us I believe 115. Yes, 115. And then add another 9 to that. That would give us 124. And so at this point, these are the numbers of the amount of dollars. So on the 11th week, he will be able to purchase the MP3 player. He will have enough, assuming that we're not doing using taxes, of course. Or having to add that in after. Otherwise, that we might have to save another week or two to get the extra amount for tax, assuming that $120 doesn't include tax. But again, we're not worrying about that part right now. We might have to do that later. But I think that's actually something that you would do in 7th grade. You'd get the amount, and then you would get the amount of tax, and then have to figure that out. All right, so yeah, it looks like we're good here. So we are going to work through our example 1, and we are replacing the letter M, or variable M, with the number 14. So let's go ahead and plug that in. So our first thing to do is to go ahead and write in our 14. We're doing 14 minus 8 in parentheses to get the number that we're going to divide by 3. So 14 minus 8 is going to give us 6. Now, actually, I said that we would actually divide first. We're not. We have to do the 4 times 6 first. I wasn't paying attention. Because if we do the division part first, we're going to get a completely different answer. So if I try to do 6 divided by 3 first, and then do 4 times that number, I would only get 8 as the answer. We may still get 8 as the answer, but there are times that could mess us up a little bit. So multiply and divide from left to right. So 4 times 6 would give us 24. So in this case, we do actually come out with the same answer in the end of 8. But you can kind of sort of get away with doing it in the wrong order, but I would recommend not doing that. Because for instance, like we could say, because we have to multiply by 4, we could scoot this down to this end and do it then. But it's really not worth trying to do that unless you get good enough that you're not going to make a mistake if it ends up that we would end up getting a different answer. But these problems are pretty good for making sure that we're not going to find ourselves in that situation. All right, so next one, we have to do the part in parentheses first, and we get a hint that when we are squaring the number, we have to multiply the number by itself. So it tells us that we're doing 4 squared equals 4 times 4. So when we go ahead and put our 4 in here, and we come down here, this number is going to be the answer to 4 times 4. So that's going to give us 16. And then that looks like we are doing addition here. The top and bottom part looks a little blurry, but if we look at the problem, it's a little bit better. So we would have 18, excuse me, 18 times 3, and that's going to give us a certain number. Pause the video if you want to figure that out on your own. We could use repeated addition with 18s to find that, or you could go ahead and write out the problem like this and go ahead and work it out. So pause if you need to. The answer is going to be 54. And so now we're going to work with a formula. Pay really close attention to this. You will see a homework problem that will use this particular formula. And so this is to find the perimeter. So back in 3rd grade and between 3rd grade and 5th grade, let's say that we're taking a rectangle and we have a length of 2.4. So we would say the 2.4 would go on the top and the bottom, and then the width of 1.2 would go on these 2 edges, and then we would add everything together. So now we're at the point that you guys understand enough of how to do that. We can do a possibly faster way of doing it using this particular formula. So we are going to substitute 2.4 for L. And so that's going to represent our top and bottom here. And then we would replace this with 1.2. And that's going to give us 2 times 1.2, which is going to give us the same thing as if we added those together. So our 2.4 times 2 is going to give us 4.8, which we could go ahead and find by looking at this. The other one, 2 times 1.2, so 2 times 2 would give us 4 in the tens place. 2 times 1 gives us 2 in the ones place. And then when we add those together, we will get 7.2. And that's what's going to go down here. So we will see a homework problem where we use that. honestly, if you want, you could go ahead and just make the picture like I did here and do it the old way. Um, it's still going to get you the right answer, but if you want to go ahead and practice doing it this way, we will have to do more things that look like this. So this would be an easy way that you can practice, and then you could use this picture to check yourself and make sure that you did the correct answer for that. All right, so now let's go to Sharon shows. So I'm going to do some of these. I think once I get down to 5, I'm actually going to skip over to some of the word problems because I would like to do more of those. If you can get the idea of these first few that we're doing, then we can do a couple of the more advanced ones and we can work on the problem solving. And we will get lots more practice with this. So don't feel frantic if I am skipping ahead a little bit so that we can get to some more advanced problems doing this. So we're going to do evaluate 5k plus 6. So our expression is 5k plus 6. And we are going to replace the k with the number 4. So substitute 4 for k. So we're going to do 5 times 4 plus 6. So the first thing we would do is find the answer to 5 plus, or excuse me, 5 times 4. That's going to give me 20. 20 plus 6 is going to give us 26. So most of these examples, if you are comfortable with going step by step through your order of operations, are going to be fairly simple. We're not going to be working for the moment with as complicated numbers to where you have to like really work hard to make sure that you get the answer correct. The homework problems will be a little bit more difficult than this, which is why I want to get to some of the more difficult problems and practice those. I didn't mean to write there. Number 2, we want to evaluate M9, M minus 9, excuse me, for M equals 13. So a very simple problem. What I am going to recommend is go ahead and write the first step down below, replacing M with our number that's going to be the variable. And then just write that out and then keep going. Most of these problems, like for instance, here's the beginning, here's the expression, here's the expression, here's the expression. So for my purposes, if they're already giving you the expression, you don't need to rewrite it. Just go ahead and go down to the first step where we start working through replacing the variable with the number, and then keep going from there. But I think it's kind of redundant for us to have you write, for me to have you guys write m minus 9 and then do 13 minus 9 and then keep going from there. Okay, so we're going to do 13 minus 9 and then we are going to give the answer to 13 minus 9, which is the only step, and we can go ahead and put that down here. So that's going to be 4. All right, so our next one, I'm going to actually pause the video now, or tell you to pause the video now. I want you to go, and actually I might pause myself so I can write these in. So I want you to go ahead and work through our steps. So again, you don't have to write this down or write this down to start with. You can if you want, but we are going to replace our variable with the number that represents it and then work through the problems. So when you are ready, go ahead and hit play and I will have the examples up to talk through the answers. And actually, I believe I'm going to attempt to tab back over to this and pause the video so that I can write it in. It already looks like we're about 14 minutes. So this video is going to be a little bit longer if I don't go ahead and pause. So I'm going to pause. You guys go ahead and pause. When you're ready, hit play and we'll talk through the answers. All right, here we go. Looks like we're recording again, so let's go ahead and talk through our answers. So for number 3, we are looking for 16 minus 3 times 4, and the 3b, I put it in parentheses. It helps me make sure that I keep track of it. You're not required to do it, but it's not wrong to put it in parentheses, at least as far as I'm concerned. When you're in 7th grade and you have a different math teacher, they may ask you to do something different. or if you're finding this video and you're not one of my students, check with your teacher to find out what they want you to do. I personally prefer to do it this way so that I keep track of things, because it's really easy, if you've watched any of my videos, to make a mistake, even when you're older and have had lots of practice doing this, but maybe for different reasons. So 16 minus 12 is going to give us 4. That concludes our problem. For this one, I would say that I would prefer to see you write it as 6 squared, or 6 to the second power, but you could go ahead and split that out and write it as 6 times 6, because that's actually what you're going to end up doing to get to this number. So if you need this extra step, I will allow that. I would prefer that you write it like this, but if you need this to help you remember, I'm fine with that for right now. Again, mileage may vary depending on who your teacher is, as you're writing the following steps down. So 36 would be the answer for 6 times 6. 36 plus 4 gives us 40, which would be the answer for our problem. Let's go to number 5. The formula area is equal to length times width. Sound familiar? Gives the area A of a rectangle with a length L and a width W. What is the area in square feet of a United States flag with a length of 12 feet and a width of 8 feet? So we would start by writing this out. I'm going to write this over here. So A equals, and then we are going to replace our variables, with 12, and then times, and then the variable for W is worth 8. And then A equals, so we're always going to put the variable that goes with our answer. This is going to be a really good habit when we start working with different things with algebra where we're solving equations. This is a very good habit you want to get in the habit. If we're saying that we're solving for A, go ahead and write A equals and then put the number. I don't know of anybody that won't want to see that. So that would be a universal thing. You want to get in the habit of doing this. I actually know of people that will mark off, if you only put the number and you don't put the variable, you lose points at best, if not getting it completely wrong because you didn't put the variable. So this is one that I will harp on a lot because people are going to want to see that. So 12 times 8 equals 96. Woo, that's a really bad 9. Sorry about that. All right, there is one more that I want to do, and this one we are going to do because you have a homework problem where you will have to do this. So F stands for degrees in Fahrenheit. This expression is going to give us a way to get from Fahrenheit to Celsius. And so I will at some point show you what the actual formula is, but this is the way that we can represent that formula. It's basically the degrees in Fahrenheit minus 32 times 5/9, but this is the way that we can write this out as an expression to get the answer. So we will do this because we have to do this for homework. So I am going to talk you through step by step what to do. I'll let you pause so you can figure out what numbers actually should go with this. When we are finished, we should end up with an answer that is much smaller than our 95 degrees Fahrenheit that we're starting with. So F minus 32. So we get 95 minus 32. And then we are going to put that in parentheses, and then we're going to plug everything else in that we are not working with on this step. So 5 times 95 minus 32 divided by 9. Our next step is to resolve this. That is going to give us an answer of 63. And so now we can plug everything else in. Our next step is to do 5 times 63. I will tell you that we can use partial products, and this becomes a very, very easy problem because we can go ahead and find our number that would go in the ones and the tens place by doing 5 times 3, and then we can find the number of hundreds we have by doing 60 times 5. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video if you need to do that. And assuming that you've done that, we are going to end up with 15 for the answer for the tens and the ones place. And then 5 times 60 is going to give us 300. So we would have a 3 in the hundreds place, and that gives us 315. Now, we can go ahead and tell you that if I add these three numbers together, I get 9, which is a multiple of 3. So I am going to be able to divide by 3, and I'm probably also going to be able to divide by 9. So I should get an even number for the answer. So how do we go ahead and find that? We probably need to go ahead and do long division. So let's go ahead and write that as a long division problem and talk through our steps. So we cannot count by nines to get to 3. 9 will go into 31 3 times, which would, when we multiply, give us 27. So after subtracting, we're going to carry 4 over into our next step of the problem and bring down our 5, which is going to give us 45. 9 goes into 45 5 times, so the answer is going to be 35. And I'm just letting you know that if we're doing this, it's probably going to be because we want to find Celsius. So in the future, we would put 35 degrees, and then we would put a C for Celsius. But I don't know if the homework problem asks you to do that. Let me check real quick. But for future reference, yes. So this particular problem, so number 11, when you are done finding your number, you are going to put degrees, and then you're going to put a C for Celsius. So that would be the correct way to write that answer. You need to give the unit, and which is degrees, and then we are giving the measurement system that we're using, which is in Celsius. So I wanted to make sure you guys had that. I think I'm only going to do 1 or 2 of these. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with number 16. And let's figure out what went wrong here. So we're doing 8 times 3 minus 3 divided by 3. And so if we go ahead and do this, n is supposed to equal 8. So let's go ahead and actually work out the correct steps in order, and then we can figure out what he did wrong. And I didn't mean to hit that. This one. There we go. So hopefully the notepad is still up on the stream. So we're going to do 3 times 6. That's going to give us 24. We are doing 24 minus 3 divided by 3. So I'm going to draw a little kind of line here. So we're going to use this to reference again. So we are going to say that at this point, the next thing that we have to do is our division. So if we do that, 3 divided by 3 gives us 1. And then we're doing 24 minus 1. That is going to give us 23. So now that we know what the answer should be, how are we going to explain what they did wrong? So think about that for a moment. Pause the video if you need to. And when you're ready, hit play. So what we have is a very common mistake where we are trying to work from left to right without taking into account our order of operations. So our order of operations, we do everything in parentheses first, and we resolve any exponents unless they're also part of the parentheses as the next thing. So exponents come second unless they're part of the parentheses. Then we do multiplication and division from left to right. So we did our multiplication, but we had another division problem. And so they went ahead and jumped to doing the subtraction part because that was the next thing that was on the left. So that's a common mistake. We want to make sure that we don't fall for that. because that will change our answer drastically. So our answer should have been much larger than what we got, and that was the mistake that was made. I am going to, oh, I want to do number 17. We had a problem similar to this in our daily math book, and we will be doing this much later on this year. So the surface area of a cube can be found by using the formula 6s squared, where s represents the length of a cube. So, for instance, when we were talking about that, I was telling you, let's say that this is a picture of a cube. And so it kind of turned bad at the end. But we have 6 different sides, and we're assuming that we're going to count the area of each side. So each area would be 3 times 3. This top one would be 3 times 3. This one would be 3 times 3. So that's going to give us the amount for each side, and we have 6 sides. So we are going to say that the side has a length of 3. So go ahead and plug that in for our formula. We are going to do 6 times, and then we're doing 3 squared. So that would be our starting point when we replace our variable with the number 3. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to. Go ahead and work through these steps, and when you're ready, go ahead and hit play. So one of the things that we can end up accidentally doing, I'm not sure how. Oh, never mind. No, I know. Never mind. If we go ahead and do this, we have to do this part first. So 3 times 3 gives us 9. That is going to give us 6 times 9, which is going to give us 54. I was trying to figure out how you would get the 108 part. The other thing that you could accidentally do is do 18 squared, but 18 times 18 would not give us this one. It might actually give us this one, but I'm not even sure about that. No, it wouldn't, because 20 times 20, if we found an estimate, would only give us 400. So I'm not sure what we could have done to have gotten all the way up to there. All right, so let's look through our homework problems real quick. I'm asking you to do a lot now. With that said, most of these should be fairly simple, but some of them are not. This one's actually easier than you think because we are just going to, M is going to be plugged in for both of these. Number 9 is probably one of the more difficult ones, as is number 8, because we are replacing both variables. But as long as we follow the correct steps, we need to do all of our order of operations. If you want to go ahead and put these in parentheses, so the 3 times x, which would be worth 7, so 3 times 7, put that in parentheses to make sure that you don't make a mistake. That would be a really good idea. Number 10 and number 11, we are going back through those two formulas. Again, they're kind of showing a way to do that. I learned it slightly differently. It would have looked a little bit more like this. C equals, or actually we would put the 5/9 first. 5/9 of f minus 32. But again, both of these things mean exactly the same way. This is a much easier way to represent it. But if you ever see something that looks like this is what that's actually going to translate to. We're going to do 5 times f minus 32, and then we're going to take that and divide it by 9. So for what that's worth, on the back, I'm only asking for 3 through 6. So for 7 to the 3rd power, we would be doing 7 times 7 times 7. We want to figure out if we missed 4 problems, how many problems were on the test. So 4 of these problems are going to represent the amount that she missed on the test. So keep that in mind. The 4 problems are not 80% of the test. The 4 problems are the part that she missed, which would be easy to find from there. We are evaluating this using the order of operations. All right, so I'm going to help you on this one. So our 3/4 plus, and then we have to go ahead and work out this part. So I'm going to put it in parentheses. Remember, when we are dividing with fractions, we are going to multiply by the inverse. And then we can use one of our tricks to reduce. You don't have to, but that is something that you could do. Now, with that said, once we're done doing this step, we can figure out that we are going to need to find a equivalent fraction for 3/4 to be able to finish the problem. The next step would be to do that and plug that in and then finish, okay? So this one is a little bit trickier because of the number of steps involved. But if you look, it's actually kind of easy to work with the numbers that we will actually get, as long as you remember to do the steps in the right order. Number 6, we are looking at B hamburgers that cost $4 each and F fruit cups. So we want us to write an algebraic expression. So think about what we've been working on. We've been working with solving those today. So we're going to go back to yesterday's lesson, or Friday's lesson rather. No, Monday's lesson. I'm recording all of these in a batch. So Monday's lesson, we worked with finding the correct way to go ahead and represent one of these word problems in an expression. And so you'll see examples that we're working with today. So you can go back and look at some of those problems to see what that problem could look like when we're done solving it. So that concludes everything for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in Google Classroom. Sorry the video is a little bit longer than expected, but I want to make sure that you guys have a good grasp on this. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. Again, if you still have any questions, please ask in Google Classroom, and we will be reviewing this on Thursday. So I guess a quick note about that. Thursday, I'm going to be collecting the homework. We will talk through what we've been doing in class on Thursday, and we'll possibly continue that on Friday before going on to new material. But I think we're actually really close to the mid-chapter review, so I may spend Thursday reviewing and talking through the homework, answering questions, and then on Friday we may be doing the daily, or not daily math. We will be doing the mid-chapter checkpoint possibly. If we get through all our review work. So hope you have a great day. I look forward to seeing those of you that will be back in person on Thursday, which will be the day after this video goes out. So sorry for fumbling again through a video, but hopefully this has been helpful for you. Look forward to seeing you soon and hope you have a great day.